Nowadays, we've become pretty numb to filmmakers and studios making changes to movies and TV shows after their initial release to the public. Whether it's erasing a Starbucks cup from the realm of Westeros or touching up a digitally reanimated dead actor, any ideas of final cut have gone out the window. A big reason for emboldening that attitude actually goes back to our favorite decade, y'all, the 90s. In 1992, Ridley Scott re-released Blade Runner and dubbed it the Director's Cut. It made significant changes to the theatrically released version that many fans of the film actually preferred. Just a year before the Blade Runner Director's Cut release, a sequel to an 80s box office hit landed in theaters and was roundly rejected by audiences and critics. And by 1995, that film's director got the chance to release his director's cut and change the movie to a degree that effectively changed history.
Bet you've always wanted to drive one of these, huh?
Me too.
I'm Drew Deitch for Giant Freakin' Robot. And this is why Highlander II: The Quickening failed. Okay, real quick for anyone who hasn't seen Highlander. Number 1, see Highlander.
Your time is now.
That's the whole list. Seriously, Highlander is amazing. It's one of the most enjoyable and stylish fantasy action movies of the 1980s. If you don't want to bring joy into your life for some reason by watching Highlander, here's the basic idea. There are immortals here on Earth. They are all destined to fight each other for a mythic goal called the prize. Last one standing wins. Or, as the series catchphrase goes,
There can be only one.
If you want to get more in-depth than that, check out our Rules of Highlander video. Or, watch Highlander and be a happier person. The first film took place in then modern-day New York and ended with our hero, Connor MacLeod, defeating the last immortal and winning the prize. It was a perfectly closed loop of a story. So, when the time came to make a sequel, there were a lot of narrative obstacles as well as production problems. For one, the ending of Highlander removed Connor's immortality.
I'm just like you. I can love and have children, live and grow old.
The big hook of the entire concept. Plus, all the other immortals were now dead, including Connor's friend and mentor, Ramirez, played by Sean Connery.
There can be only one!
And they were going to bring him back no matter what, because he was a big-name actor and extremely fun in the first movie.
And you have no knowledge whatsoever of your potential. Now!
So, how do you deal with all these issues? Well, the original version of Highlander II: The Quickening made some extreme decisions. The biggest one had to do with the origin of our heroes and their supernatural abilities. In the theatrical cut of Highlander II, the story retcons the immortals as aliens from a planet called Zeist. In the first film, The Quickening was a blast of spiritual energy one immortal experienced after slaying another. In the sequel, it is retconned into a magical force that binds Connor and Ramirez and allows for Ramirez's resurrection. Needless to say, this was not going to fly with fans of the original film. But we've got a lot more Highlander 2 issues to deal with than just upset fans. The story is set in the future year of 2024, and mostly centers around the Shield, an electromagnetic barrier created to protect humans from solar radiation. It works, but has also plunged the planet into permanent night and has been capitalized upon by a greedy mega corporation.
Well, that's funny, Alan!
This is a perfectly fine sci-fi concept, but not something that really sounds in line with the sword-fighting action fantasy of the original. And though the production design of Highlander 2 is undeniably impressive, just look at these sets. The bleak dystopian setting of 2024 made audiences bummed out. As someone who lived through actual 2024, I can relate. Director Russell Mulcahy returned for the sequel, and his knack for visual filmmaking flair is present. But Mulcahy ended up being removed from the production. Highlander 2 was shooting in Argentina, but had to eventually move production when Argentina's economy experienced a devastating crash. At some point during all this chaos, the film's completion bond company and certain investors were able to take control of Highlander 2. Taking Mulcahy and any of his creative influence out of the picture. Needless to say, the making of Highlander 2 was an ambitious, bold, and ultimately doomed endeavor. The theatrical cut that was released without Mulcahy's involvement,
Highlander 2 was so crazily put together, you get the impression that a lot of the key scenes were just never filmed.
Was widely derided by critics and rejected by audiences, opening at the number 3 box office spot on its opening weekend.
One of the small pleasures of the movie is the way the battle for control of entire planets is engaged in entirely in dialogue made out of movie cliches.
After all these years, you're still a jerk.
Our favorite Spawn-loving critic, Roger Ebert, gave the movie a rare 0.5 stars and called it
One of the most hilariously incomprehensible experiences I've had in a long time.
And you know what? We're siding with Roger on this one.
It's one of those works that will provide in the years to come a point of reference for myself and probably for a lot of other people when the conversation turns to the worst films of all time.
Highlander 2: The Quickening's theatrical cut is a jumbled and choppy movie.
This movie shows real evidence of having been edited almost at random. Let's take out this and this.
With little to recommend outside of its novelty status.
All of this insanity could have added up to something that would have made a great bad movie.
As much as I admit to having some lingering nostalgia for this version of the movie, it's legitimately bad. After becoming an infamous flop and even called one of the worst movies of all time, director Russell Mulcahy was able to supervise a new cut of Highlander 2, dubbed the Renegade version. In this cut, any references to the planet Zeist are removed or changed to imply a distant fantastical past rather than an alien planet. You'll also get some editing fixes. For example, the theatrical cut merges together 2 separate sword fights between Connor and the movie's main villain, Katana, played by Michael Ironside.
Nicely played, McLeod. But the game's not over yet.
In the Renegade version, those 2 fights are restored in full. And I am never going to say no to some more Michael Ironside. Especially when he's acting like this.
That was me! Yes!
The Renegade version became the easily accessible cut of Highlander 2: The Quickening after its release. And because it was seen as an improvement, there wasn't any substantial demand for home video versions of the theatrical cut. So, unless you saw Highlander 2 in the theater on its original VHS or Laserdisc release, or caught it on TV back in the 90s, you have never seen the original cut of the movie. And this continues today, with widely available copies of the movie being either the Renegade version or the Special Edition, another reconfigured cut that adds new CG effects to the Renegade Cut. Look, it's no question the Renegade version re-edit of Highlander 2 is superior to the theatrical cut. It's still not a great movie, and it's still a pretty poor sequel, but it's certainly a far more watchable piece of film editing and storytelling than the theatrical cut. However, the fact that Highlander 2: The Quickening has been shoved away in its original version is not something I support. That version of the movie is a piece of film history, and it deserves proper preservation, archiving, and public accessibility. Just because the makers of Highlander 2 made a mistake with their sequel doesn't mean they should get to erase history. I'm sure there are people out there who genuinely love the Zeist-filled version of Highlander 2, and they deserve to have a preserved high-quality copy of it to watch. Just because a movie is bad doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. Highlander 2: The Quickening is a failure, and those who forget their failures are doomed to repeat them. That's probably why there hasn't been a good Highlander movie since the first one. Heyo! If there are any Zeist apologists out there, I have got to hear from you in the comments, please. Give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if this is the kind of stuff you'd like to see more of here at Giant Freakin' Robot. Until next time, try not to lose your head.
Ever wonder what they mean by zestfully clean? It's the feeling you get when...
Please hold on to the bar.